We're now going to introduce all of you to three very exciting USC student entrepreneurs. They're mental health advocates. These are great folks. They are Lucy Schaefer, Travis Chen, and Brian Feminella. They are the co-creators and co-founders of Sound Mind, a groundbreaking app that provides stress relief for people suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and trauma. The app, launching in late 2021, will be first intended for frontline workers to help combat stress brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. Lucy Schaefer is a junior from Crystal City, Colorado. She's also a member of USC's Army ROTC. She is currently pursuing a degree in neuroscience pre-medical studies with a minor in art history. Our students never fail to impress all of us. Travis Chen is a senior from nearby Arcadia, California, who previously worked at Amazon Web Services and in the US Senate. He is currently pursuing a degree in international relations at USC Dornside. And we have with us today Brian Feminella, a junior from Wisconsin, New York. There's a lot of snow there now, none of that here. And he is a US Army reservist as well. He is currently pursuing a dual degree at USC in political science and intelligence and cyber operations out of USC Dornside. Our three wonderful students will be joined by their faculty advisor, Dr. Scott Spencer, professor of musicology and world music at the USC Thornton School of Music. I'm now going to turn it over to Dr. Spencer, who will open today's discussion. Like before in our last session with Dr. Folt, we encourage you to participate in the Q&A. So please be sure to submit your questions by typing them into the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Dr. Spencer, we turn it over to you and to our wonderful students.
Thank you very much. Thanks to President Folt. It's truly an honor to be addressing the half-century Trojans and to be introducing this incredible student project and these incredible students. I'm going to talk really briefly here about mentorship, supporting student projects, and then introduce these amazing students. I teach a world music survey course at the Thornton School of Music. One semester, I had a student named Ryan Cordell in the class. Ryan was a member of the veterans community on campus, having served tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. He had age and experience on his peers, and he was just trying to blend in with the student body. In Afghanistan, Ryan had suffered a traumatic brain injury and during an engagement, and as a result had lingering post-traumatic stress disorder, tinnitus, which is the constant ringing of your ears, and hearing loss. He proposed a class project on how soldiers and veterans use music to pass time, to honor fallen comrades, and to deal with lingering effects of their active duty. So in the spirit of USC, a project that advances knowledge, addresses real problems, and makes the world a better place is exactly what students should be doing. So I'm sure that many of you are mentors. I see you in the community. I meet you at graduation. I know that you're doing good things in community and mentoring others, and follow this creed yourself. So Ryan's project was so compelling that I asked him to present it to the class. It was noted by many students as the most important experience that they had had in the class, and Ryan went on to present this study to multiple classes at the Thornton School of Music. He ended up graduating USC with honors and returns to my class when he can. In one of those presentations, in one of those first presentations, there was a business student and ROTC cadet, Brian Feminella, who approached Ryan after the class and said, "I can do something about that." Again, as a mentor, is this a good idea? Yes. Will it advance knowledge? Yes. Does it have potential to make the world a better place? Oh, absolutely. So this is an ideal USC project. With this in mind, Brian structured a project with the approval of his ROTC advisor, in which he proved that cadets running their monthly 2-mile run could perform better with music than without. They ran faster. So with this study in hand, with this proof in hand, Brian was ready to take his project and his idea to the next level. And this begins the story. And with that, I'd love to turn this over to Brian Feminella.
Well, thank you very much, Professor. It means a lot that you're here with us today and all the work you put in for myself and my team over the past 2 years. I cannot believe I'm already a junior at USC. But anyways, hello everybody. My name is Brian Feminella, and I am proud to be serving as the CEO at SoundMind. And I'd like to share with you a little bit about how this started. So for us, I met my co-founder, Travis Chen, by working on Capitol Hill. We took a semester off to go to DC, which is kind of an abroad semester, but on the other side of the country, so you can consider it abroad. And we really learned a lot about each other, about service, about how to, what's best for where we want to take our lives, and kind of, just a common, I guess you could say, goal for public service. During our time at Capitol Hill, Travis and I got very close. We talked a lot about our passions for mental health and our personal stories, and we decided to do something about it. For me, I've already had past research, and during my time in the military, I got to work directly with a colleague of mine who unfortunately suffered from trauma and a traumatic brain injury and forgot a majority of his memory, on which I was a part of those missing pieces. And Travis took his passion from his friend in his sophomore year at Columbia University, who unfortunately took his own life. After that, we really learned together of what it means to be aware of mental health and how important this is. I would like to keep in mind this is before the pandemic, so you can only imagine how much our passion truly ramped up. Now, Travis and I founded SoundMind and are an official company here in California, and I can't wait to share more of our story. Next slide, please. So, it is evident that there is a growing mental health crisis out there, not only with the pandemic, but before the pandemic. You had 1 in 4 young people reporting suicidal thoughts. You had soldiers who were afraid to report any instances they might have had with trauma, PTS, or whatnot. Maybe they didn't want to see a therapist, and this increased the traumatic incidence of PTS in their own community. We found that a lot of students were struggling with mental health, and the available resources that were out there were not as broad and as accessible as they could be. And finally, as we all know, the coronavirus pandemic hit us by storm. Travis and I were in Washington, D.C., working both in the House and the Senate, and it was kind of like everything broke loose, and we really had to understand what was going on. It was a very uncertain time, and now to date, mental health has gone up 22% in terms of mental health disorders and issues that people are now having in terms of trauma, especially for our frontline workers, the nurses, the doctors, the soldiers on the front lines. And that is really where our story comes into play. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the problem that Travis and I noticed right away was that there are over 231 million people in the United States that have difficulty not only managing their pain, but managing stress, anxiety, and especially trauma. Those on the front lines have reported to both Travis, myself, and Lucy with her phenomenal research how difficult it's been to find an outlet, both during work and outside of work, for trauma and beyond. What's interesting that I've really learned is that 2/3 of people diagnosed with trauma do not receive effective treatment. A lot of people are either not given the proper solutions, they do not have access through their healthcare, they cannot afford a certain mental health application, and then what happens is 70% of those who experience trauma end up developing post-traumatic stress disorder, which is not only something that has not been focused on in the mental health application community, but has been avoided because dealing with trauma directly is so difficult, which is where Professor Spencer and I really found our niche with music therapy. Next slide, please. So we decided to do something about it, as I explained, with our mental health application. We've created a music therapy application for those struggling with trauma, whether that be PTS, traumatic brain injury, and/or anxiety. Our entire goal here at SoundMind is to allow people to have a positive association experience throughout our mobile application. What's really unique is that everything in our application is powered by music, but a little different than you would expect. they have different options and different ways that they can kind of curate certain soundscapes, certain brain exercises that truly help the individual end user really have an effective treatment that they can't get elsewhere or that they might not able to have 24/7. So we want to serve as a way to not only be, someone that's a mitigator, but also be someone that can be serving as a friend and truly help you through this emotional and stressful process. Also, something really unique to note is our mental health application is AA compliant, and we also are compliant with anyone's auditory triggers, ensuring that we have nothing else to worry about. Moving on to the next slide, please. So finally, our product. We start off by asking the user if they have any auditory triggers or anything that they would like to report to us through a simple questionnaire. Once they answer that questionnaire, we're really able to create a personalized and curated experience for that user, which leads us into our music composer, which is our main part of our application. As you can see on the slide, the big purple circle is our kind of your main sound, whether that be the genre of music of classical, jazz, whatever you find soothing. And we combine that and layer that in the back end through our technology, which is called our sonic profiling, with different ambient sounds as well. If you do not like the sound, you can swipe left, or if you like the sound, you can swipe right, which kind of creates an interactive process that was really truly lacking from the App Store. And something unique that we added, which is the help from not only Lucy, but our entire research team, is our rapid response feature, which allows the individual to have a different option from calling 911. Something that I really learned is that people in times of auditory triggers or trauma just want to not know what's going on. Any kind of sounds that trigger them, they lose all informational context of the sound and just become stressed and have a lot of anxiety. So because of that, this rapid response feature reminds the end user, take a drink of water, relax, take a deep breath, and if they're still feeling uncomfortable, they're able to alert their emergency contacts of their location, as some people truly need that as moving forward in the trauma community. And finally, moving on, we have our calendar, which has specific coloring, specific labeling, and allows the user to put in their mood, how they're feeling throughout the week, and they can track when they feel happy, when they feel sad, maybe find that pattern that was missing that they couldn't really figure out from before. And it's a very simple process. And finally, we have our brain exercises, which Lucy is going to elaborate on, in her presentation coming up. I wanted to say thank you to all of you, and I will hand it over to Lucy to continue this wonderful presentation.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's a beautiful sunny day in Los Angeles today, and I would like to thank you all, first of all, for being here, and thank you to President Carol Folt for introducing us, and thank you to the Half Century Trojans for being here as well. So as Brian, one of the co-founders, stated, one of the largest initiatives at SoundMind is to follow a research-based approach. So what does that mean? Well, we have three main platforms on our application: music therapy, the memory games and brain training exercises, and our mindfulness meditations, which are to come in the future. And all three of these platforms are founded on research that our team has conducted. Our focus is to develop a virtual space on our application that can mitigate the indicators of PTSD, depression, sexual assault and trauma, and even anxiety. A large component of our music therapy development is the implementation of Thanatasonics. Now I know you're thinking, what are Thanatasonics? Thanatasonics refer to the relationship between sound, violence, and humans. More specifically, this phenomena is the idea that a traumatic psychosocial experience can ingrain sound event associations within our nervous system that blur the lines between sound, sensations, and trauma. This is where triggers come into play. Triggers can be auditory, visual, even smell-induced. Essentially, any sensory event can act as a trigger for a past life experience. And this happens with trauma because sensory input begins to associate with certain traumatic experiences rather than as objective and/or non-threatening sources of sound. This allows triggers from emotional experiences to really interfere with one's everyday routine life. Now, to directly address the prevalence of triggers in PTSD, at SoundMind, we sought out to explore the biological mechanisms of neural rewiring that could alter one's interfering and traumatic sound event associations. And what we found is that music therapy has that potential, the potential to promote neuroplastic mechanisms that can help initiate healing in response to one's traumatic experiences. Now, the idea of neuroplasticity goes beyond our music therapy platform. As Brian stated, it also lays the foundation for our brain training exercises in our memory games. And this is built on the principle that your brain can change. And this has led to the development of a 6 mini games series. And each of the mini games in our brain training exercises target a different region of the brain. And it's focused on promoting the formation of new neural connections, the growth of the hippocampus, and even the increase in cognitive function abilities. Now, in addition to our preliminary and archival research that has gone into the development of our app, the research team at SoundMind has a mission to also continuously grow our knowledge base. After all, we are college students, and we admit that we still have a lot to learn, but we have the work ethic and we have the passion to do so. And this is what has led us to begin a Medium page where we can post our publications, our literature reviews, and even our IRB approved studies. We believe that research should be open access and accessible to everyone and anyone who needs it, especially research that's investigating mental health mechanisms. And although it's only a small step, we believe that creating and contributing towards a mental health research library is one thing that we can do to tackle the task of achieving a comprehensive trauma and mental health informed system that benefits all. And that's really what SoundMind is about. So if you're interested, you can visit our Medium page and read about some of the research we've done. We've done some really cool studies on mindfulness that have led to the production of our mindfulness and recorded meditations, largely based on MBSR and MBCT, which are mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, which have both demonstrated really strong clinical outcomes. Another part of our research included binaural beats, which, for those of you who don't know, are kind of an auditory illusion. And it's when you send frequencies, you send one frequency to one ear and one frequency to the other. And this promotes activity in areas of the brain that are responsible for mood and anxiety. And what we found is that binaural beats have the potential to reshape music therapy. And this is why we've decided to incorporate them into the music therapy portion of our app, which is really exciting. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, a driving reason behind our research is neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is a change on the molecular and cellular level that offers the ability for music to alter neurological wirings and associations. And this allows for the possibility of customized musical associations that can change individual synapses or entire cortical networks. And this cortical rewiring, in turn, could offer explanations and a potential solution behind the interfering psychosocial symptoms of PTSD and the ability to alter emotional responses to triggering stimuli. Now, something I want to bring up is the relationship with memory and trauma. The amygdala is the part of your brain that's responsible for emotion, and it's most commonly associated with fear, aggression, and trauma. Now, the prefrontal cortex is our brain's logic center, and that's what helps us make reasonable decisions, critically think, and it's responsible for a wide variety of executive functions. The issue is that when an individual suffers a traumatic event or a series of traumatic events, the memory is not processed logically in the prefrontal cortex where it should be, but rather it kind of gets stuck in your amygdala. And this is what makes traumatic experience is so vulnerable to becoming associated with sensory input that also evoke human emotion. This is why neuroplasticity is such an important part of our research and is incorporated into all three parts of our app. Now, another thing I'd like to add is that post-traumatic stress disorder is incredibly comorbid with major depressive disorder. What this means is that 54% of individuals diagnosed with MDD also meet the criteria for PTSD and vice versa. And there's also increases in suicidal ideation. Now, understanding this and understanding the importance of mental health care is what truly inspires the efforts of Sound Mind Solutions. Next slide, please. So to close out, I'd just like to say that the research team at Sound Mind ultimately aims to utilize the growing findings within neurobiology to provide practical and applicable therapeutic tools. These tools refer to the three platforms within our app, and our goal is to develop these that each possess the potential to reduce the prevalence of intrusive and burdening symptoms of PTSD. And most importantly, our goal is to provide trauma-informed care. I believe that the most important aspect of mental health care is to ensure that patients are leaving happier and healthier than when they came. And that's what trauma-informed care is about. It focuses on understanding each individual's needs as a result of trauma. And the literature surrounding trauma-informed care has shown really positive outcomes, and that is why we have incorporated into all three of our app platforms. Now, that's all for the research today, and I'd like to hand it off to my colleague and COO, Travis Chen.
Thank you so much, Lucy, and good morning to all our Trojans around the world who are joining us. It's so honorable to be on this call today. As the president of Society 53, which is the leadership board for the Student Alumni Society, which is the official student organization under the USC Alumni Association, I witnessed firsthand exactly how alumni are so dedicated and so willing to help all of us Trojans who are currently on campus or this virtual campus that we have. So it's very, very honorable to be here to be speaking with all of you today. So I'm very, very proud to be the co-founder and COO of Sound Mind, and we founded, like Brian had mentioned, in 2020. And what we really realized that was in 2017, after doing some research, we found that in 2027, the global market value of mental health applications is expected to reach $3.9 billion. And so we saw this as a very big opportunity to go into this market space. We see this as a very good opportunity for us to really address an issue that we're all very, very passionate about. The industry revenue of this industry is to reach $600 million by mental health applications alone, specifically just the United States, which is a very big number. And this is all to address 230 million Americans who are experiencing PTSD, depression, and anxiety. And like Brian had mentioned, 2/3 of those are have ineffective treatments that they're currently going through. So we really hope that SoundMind can be an effective solution for them, an effective tool for them as they undergo their experiences. Next slide, please. Now, despite the pandemic, we're very, very proud and blown away by all the features that we've been able to be featured on throughout news and social media, including on the Daily Trojan, the US Insider, the New York Weekly, and the Chicago Journal. And this has really, really excited us to show that there is truly a need out there and people are seeing the need that we have and really, really witnessing what we are building step by step. And so we're really proud of all the features that we've been featured on and really, really can't wait for the future of our team and for our product as well. Next slide, please. So we're really proud to be college entrepreneurs, innovators, researchers, developers, and we're also really proud to be USC based. So of our 12 members on our team, more than half of our team members are from USC or USC alumni. And what we've really witnessed is, through the incredible alumni network and obviously the current professors and students on our campus, that we've been really able to tap into the community. And coming from an entrepreneurial family, I came to USC because I witnessed the entrepreneurs that came out of USC. And through this experience, I've been able to really speak with a lot of entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs that are USC alumni to help us and to lead us and to mentor us along the way. Throughout this entire COVID-19 pandemic, we've also been able to participate in the world's largest Pre-Seed Accelerator program, the Founder Institute program based in Silicon Valley, where we've been able to reach a lot of mentors and a lot of tech entrepreneurs in this space to help us along the way. And we're currently in the Funding Lab program under the Founder Institute. And just this week, we were announced that we were selected to be part of the Troy Labs at USC, which is a very exciting program at USC based. And they're student entrepreneurs and like-minded innovators that are interested in helping startups like us throughout our entrepreneurship process. Next slide, please. We're really excited to have an incredible amount of incredible advisors on our board. A lot of them also from USC, including Dr. Rizzo, who's the director of MedVR at the USC Institute for Creative Technologies. We also have the first employee and the creator of Flipboard, which is the app of the year in 2010 on our advisory board. We have clinical psychologists. We have the CEO of the JET Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that addresses mental health and suicides, especially on college campuses specifically. And then we have a lot of other tech entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general on our team as well. So we're really, really proud of the advisors that we've built and always very thankful for the mentorship that we have. And there's so much more people that we need to thank other than these advisors on our slide here, including a lot of mentors that are USC alumni as well. Next slide, please. And at this time, I'd like to introduce to everyone our demo video, and this shows you exactly what our app is slated to look like. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't wait for everyone to get your hands onto this app, which is slated to be launching onto the App Store by the end of this calendar year. With that, I'd love for everyone to stay in touch with us. Please check us out at our website at www.soundmind.app or follow us on our Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and LinkedIn at Soundmind app as well. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it over to Patrick. Thank you.
Wow, that's all I can say. It's so exciting. I mean, I know our students are learning from each other. They're learning from our faculty, but I hope that all of our half-century Trojans joining us today are learning a lot from our students. I know I certainly am. Thank you, Lucy, Travis, and Brian. You guys are absolutely incredible. And Professor Spencer, you're pretty great too. We'd now like to begin the Q&A portion of our program. And again, remember, you can still submit your questions for our wonderful students by typing them into the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And so we're going to go ahead and start this off. And this is for any of you who want to answer. This comes from our friend, half-century Trojan, Sarah Jane Betke. And she asks, will this app work for people who have health issues such as stroke and are going through recovery, since this is a brain trauma experience? Who would like to speak to that?
I can touch on that.
All right, Lucy, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for your question. Our app is designed to mitigate symptoms of PTSD, depression, anxiety, and other mental disorders. However, the brain training exercises do promote new neural networks to connect, and it promotes the growth of several regions that are often associated with damage from stroke. So that would take a lot more research to see, if it was actually mitigating some symptoms as a result of stroke. But that could definitely be something we look forward to conducting in the future, and that would be really amazing to incorporate into our app.
Thank you. So the next question is for Travis. So Travis, of course, Travis, reminding everybody, is a graduating senior and co-founder and COO of SoundMind, and of course the president also, as he mentioned, of our Society 53 student leadership group, is a wonderful ambassador for the Alumni Association. We're grateful for that. Talk about how your time at USC has helped you prepare for this quite amazing entrepreneurial journey you're on. Have you been able to it sounds like you've been able to tap into this pretty vast community of resources. So could you speak a little more to that, please?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for the question, Patrick. Yeah, so like I mentioned, coming from an entrepreneurial family, we witnessed firsthand of the entrepreneurial community that USC builds in itself and all those that have come before us. And so I really chose USC for that reason. And I'm very proud to have taken a lot of entrepreneurship classes at USC, including entrepreneurial finance and entrepreneurial strategy, and currently in a corporate strategy class as well, where I'm learning from experienced professors in the field that have also gone through the tech entrepreneurship journey. And so through that process, I've been able to learn a lot and tap into the different communities that USC offers, and advisors and mentors that I've been able to meet and lucky to have are also very, very proud Trojans, and also very willing to give us the time and value add to our team as well. I'm also part of the USC incubator under the Grief Entrepreneurial program. And so I'm very, very proud that we have also been able to tap into those communities. And like I mentioned earlier, we are also now in the Troy Labs program under USC as well. So it's been a very, very cool to see and witness how strong and how worldwide and truly lifelong how the USC Fund family is. And we're proud to continue that journey and really be part of this process, because this is just the start of our USC journey. And we know that it's a lifelong process as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Travis. And Brian, we've got a question for you. COVID-19 has caused the mental health crisis in America and around the world to exacerbate. And we know that we become more conscientious on the topic. How have you all responded with your efforts?
Of course. And Patrick, thank you for being here as well. I piggyback off of Travis. For us, I think the biggest thing is we started this effort before the pandemic, and the pandemic allowed us to start and really go full force with a company. If you asked us beforehand and before the pandemic, are you going to start a company? Are you going to do research? I don't know what my answer would have been. So for the pandemic thus far, we've taken our time, we've taken what we've learned, what we've studied, and we've used that to target solely first responders during the pandemic for our initial rollout. So once the app is released, and already right now, the beta version is in the hands of COVID-19 first responders. So our team completely shifted to not only doing research with the first responder community, but at the same time working to make sure that we're targeting them. We're targeting hospital workers. As President Fultz said, mental health is a very important thing in the mental health community, not only in mental health, but in the healthcare community. So we've really not only shifted our focus, but shifted our target market.
Excellent, thank you. Now, here's a question. This is getting really scientific, and hopefully you guys can answer it. And this comes from Wayne Ridberg. And he asks, are you addressing whether neuroplasticity can impact the growing incidence of Alzheimer's? Are any of you in position to answer that question?
I can touch on that.
Thank you, Lucy.
Of course, thank you for the question. So Alzheimer's is another disorder that has severe adverse effects on individuals diagnosed with it. As I stated before, our app is more geared towards mitigating symptoms as a result of trauma, PTSD, depression, anxiety. Now, with Alzheimer's, you also see memory deficits. And that's where I would say our app could come into play for individuals struggling with Alzheimer's. The hope would be that if they used our brain training and memory game platform, they could promote the growth of their hippocampus and direct more activity towards their prefrontal cortex. And this neuroplasticity that is ingrained into our memory game platform, I would hope could help them with some of their symptoms, maybe increase their memory abilities and cognitive functions. But again, I'll say that the research isn't there yet because our main focus has been trauma. But that could be definitely something we focus on in the future.
Excellent. Okay, we're just going to take one more question. We're running low on time, and I think we could talk forever. But this question comes from Judy Colley, and she said that a past speaker has stated that individuals who are having PTSD were more apt to interact truthfully with computer-generated artificial persons than to real-life individuals. Did this influence your development?
I can absolutely speak to this.
Go for it, Brian.
So I also have a part-time job at USC Institute for Creative Technologies over at ICT, and I work under direction of Dr. Skip Rizzo, and we work completely on virtual humans. Another app our team at SoundMind has been able to put together is called Battle Buddy, which is completely working in the soldier and the military community on virtual humans. So what we did at SoundMind, and I really appreciate this question, is we took that kind of approach and input some characters. As you can see, they're a little bit more creative, a little bit more less structured, because what I do agree with the question, because what we really notice and what we really see is that people are more inclined to maybe not go to an in-person therapist, especially in the military, and might want to go towards an application or somebody who is not going to judge you or you can feel more comfortable with. So we've definitely taken that approach, and that has definitely influenced us and myself as the CEO, not only from my past research at SoundMind, but from my work I'm doing at another institute at the wonderful school here at ICT. So definitely that has influenced our decision, and it's going to continue to impact how we continue to develop our characters throughout the application as we get it into its final form.
I have to say I'm blown away. I hope everybody else is too. I mean, we're out of time. I want to thank again Lucy, Travis, and Brian for not only your fascinating presentation, but the way you answered these questions, not only with such deep knowledge, but with such zeal and passion for what you do. And also Professor Spencer for your support, your leadership and advisement of these fantastic students. We wish all of you great success with SoundMind and all of your future endeavors. And as I had mentioned to these fine folks before we started the event, 50, 60 years from now, they're going to be half-century Trojans, and they will be so incredibly accomplished, and the world will definitely be a better place because of all the great work that they're doing now as students and in the future as USC alumni. So thank you all again. Fight on.
Thank you. Fight on.